water safety. And when it comes to your kids, safety is the most important thing. But how can we ensure that our kids are safe while they're swimming? Joining us with tips are Aquatics Director Carrie Cordis and Aquatics Instructor and Lifeguard Trainer at the Holyoke YMCA. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
And thanks for being here. Water safety, we can't talk about it enough. It seems like something we talk about every year, but we need to, because I think people can get a little lax sometimes in the summer.
Definitely.
Let's talk first about just generic tips for being around water, not even in water, just when you're around it. Carrie.
Always make sure your children are supervised by you. Don't necessarily trust that a lifeguard's going to be, they're not there to babysit your kids. It's always better to have two sets of eyes watching, and make sure that it's by someone that actually knows how to swim. So if the child needs help, they can help them.
Right.
And also never swim alone. That's a big one. Even if you do know how to swim, you can be the best swimmer and something unfortunate can happen.
Right.
And of course, learn how to swim.
Yes,
and make sure
lessons.
your children know how to swim early on. The earlier you start them, you can see a huge difference.
Of course. I think a good point that you made there was just because there's a lifeguard doesn't mean that you can just take your eyes off of your kids. Always keep an eye out. They're just there to make sure that everyone is safe around the pool. All right, let's talk about tips for being at the pool, because different bodies of water call for different circumstances and different safety measures. So the first thing is to make sure that you have a proper flotation device when you're at the pool.
Yeah, so you want something that's Coast Guard approved, something that's not inflatable that can pop. The arm bands, they can like slip, like if a kid jumps in the pool and their arms are up, they can slide right off, which is very dangerous. And then there's swimming aids as well that are nice. But again, you want the parent there helping the child. It's not necessarily a safety measure. It's teaching them how to swim.
So don't put a bubble on them and say you're safe.
Yeah.
Make sure you stay with them the whole time.
Yeah.
Also, first aid is a great thing to know.
Yeah, you want to make sure, learn CPR and first aid, just so if something does happen, you know how to respond, and also know how to swim to the bottom of the pool.
Right.
Because wherever you are, you want to be able to get to the bottom just in case anything ever happened.
God forbid you would have to. And barriers are important to have too around whatever.
Yeah. So you
pool
want
you're
to
at.
take and lock up your ladders on above ground pools, have gates locked or shut, have a fence around your yard. Any barrier that you can have, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Right, absolutely. Also, take a break when you feel tired, and don't panic if you do become exhausted.
Right. So you don't want to take and what kids, like some kids will be able to swim and then they start getting tired, and if they don't stop before, then they start to drown. So it's better to let them, hey, just take 5 minutes out and then you can go right back in, and they won't have a problem.
Exactly.
But it's just recognizing that they're getting tired and telling them, hey, it's time to take a break.
And it's okay to take a break.
Yeah.
You can still have fun in 5 minutes, right? All right, now, Carrie, let's talk about the beach, which is a different body of water, a whole different thing than a pool. So only swim when there's a lifeguard on duty.
Absolutely, especially at the beach. The weather conditions and the water conditions change constantly, and the lifeguards, have a lot of information about that. So it's really important to swim only when they're there, because they're trained to, anticipate all those conditions that you may not think of.
And pay attention to the areas that are designated specifically for swimming.
Correct. There's a lot of other things out there, such as piers and rocks and boats, when you're dealing with the beach. So if you're swimming in the designated area, that allows you to be safe and be watched by the lifeguard, but also not encounter some of those other dangerous items as well.
And now, when you're jumping into any body of water, but at the beach, make sure that you don't dive head first. Is that
Absolutely. Unlike a pool where you can see the bottom and you can see the markers of, oh, this is 5 feet versus this is, 9 feet, and you know that you can dive in, when you are at the beach, it can be very shallow, and you may not know because you can't see through the water.
Right, exactly. So make sure that you don't just be safe and do a cannonball instead, right?
Yeah.
And now quickly, we're out of time, but proper flotation devices again.
Yeah, it's
very
an
important.
absolute must when you go to the beach that it's Coast Guard approved. They check. So you need to make sure you read it and make sure on the tag it says Coast Guard approved.
And the ocean is an incredible force, so be careful of currents and riptides and all of those things. Pay attention to those as well.
Correct. Yep. And the lifeguards, again, they have, charts and tables that tell them. So make sure, if they say there's no swimming, that you listen to them and that you stay out of the water when necessary.
I mean, of course, the most important thing is that you have fun, you enjoy yourself, but you always want to make sure you're practicing these safety measures. Thank you so much, Carrie and Carrie. Wonderful to have you here. Great to have you. And you can see these tips again just by visiting our website, mymassappeal.com.